One of the most powerful private estates in all of Britain has just landed in Prince William's hands, and reports suggest it has completely shattered Camilla's sense of security. For years, she allegedly moved through that estate as though it belonged to her personally. She reportedly placed her own sister on the payroll, opened its doors to her family whenever it suited her, and no one dared utter a single word of objection. Then William took ownership, and what he did next reportedly left the entire household stunned. He is said to have thrown every last member of Camilla's family out. Now those relatives are reportedly furious, demanding their access back, and according to sources, even threatening Camilla herself to force it. Cornered and desperate, she allegedly ran straight to Charles and begged him to overturn his son's decision, and what Charles did in response was the last thing any of them saw coming. So what could possibly leave the Queen Consort this frightened? Stay with me, because this story only gets darker. It reportedly began on the morning of April 26, 2026, when King Charles III walked into Buckingham Palace, sat at his desk and signed a single document that allegedly ripped the ground out from under Camilla's feet. The document was reportedly titled the Transfer of Sovereignty Act, Phase 1, and what it did was hand Prince William absolute ownership of the Duchy of Cornwall. This is no ordinary inheritance. It is one of the most powerful private estates on the planet, with around 135,000 acres spread across more than 20 counties in England and Wales, stretching from the wild reaches of Dartmoor to the Scilly Isles, high-value commercial properties in South London, and agricultural holdings that have generated staggering wealth for the Crown since the 1300s. In 2026 alone, the estate was reportedly producing well over £1.2 billion a year, and every last penny of it now belonged to William. But the most devastating part was not the money at all, it was the way Camilla reportedly found out, because she was not in that room when her husband signed it away. So how exactly did the woman holding the second most powerful seat in the monarchy learn that everything had changed? According to reports, nobody asked Camilla's opinion. Nobody even offered her the courtesy of a warning. What she allegedly received instead was a palace aide knocking on the door of Clarence's house and handing her a written summary of what Charles had already decided and done. It was reportedly the kind of cold, formal notification you send to a government department you barely deal with, not the woman who had fought for 30 years to sit at the very heart of the institution, and everyone in that palace reportedly understood exactly what that choice meant. This was a message. Sources say that after the aide left, Clarence's house felt like a building that had its air sucked out of it. Camilla allegedly went completely silent for 3 full hours. No calls, no appearances, not a single word. She simply withdrew, and the staff were reportedly too shaken to interrupt her. But what exactly was inside that document that could break a woman who had survived everything Britain had ever thrown at her? The answer reportedly traces back to a sealed red leather envelope and a decision made by a queen who saw all of this coming. According to sources in late 2021, as her health began to fail, Queen Elizabeth II quietly sealed that envelope, and she did not leave it behind as a sentimental gesture. She reportedly left it as a weapon. Inside were legal instructions that senior courtiers allegedly called the Heritage Lock Codicil, described as a kind of constitutional time bomb designed to detonate under very specific conditions. The trigger in 2026 was reportedly Charles's declining health, which created an urgent need to install William as a fully empowered heir. But buried within it was allegedly a clause that has Camilla's family seething to this day, an anticipatory obstruction mechanism. In plain terms, it reportedly built a permanent legal wall around the estate's most important heritage properties, ensuring that no non-blood relative of the Windsors could ever commercially develop, lease, or gain any foothold in them. Elizabeth reportedly never wrote Camilla's name anywhere. She did not need to. Everyone who read it allegedly understood exactly who it was built to stop. But why would Elizabeth go to such extraordinary lengths, and what did she privately fear? According to royal sources, Elizabeth had quietly harbored a deep unease about Camilla's place inside the institution, an unease she was far too disciplined to ever voice in public. She had reportedly watched the affair tear her family apart through the 1980s and 90s, watched Diana suffer in real time, and made a private decision that while she could not stop Charles from eventually marrying Camilla, she would seal the financial and territorial heart of William's inheritance so tightly that no one from Camilla's side could ever reach inside it. And here is the chilling part. Camilla had reportedly already sensed it coming. In the months before Elizabeth died, whispers allegedly reached her that constitutional lawyers were drafting something connected to the duchy. She reportedly sent an intermediary to find out and received a cold, flat refusal. That she even tried reportedly tells you how frightened she already was. She knew in her bones that something was being built to shut her family out, and she could not get close enough to stop it. But taking ownership of the empire was only William's opening move. The second move was reportedly far more personal, aimed directly at the people in Camilla's circle who had allegedly spent years helping themselves to what was never theirs. The first to feel the ground shake was reportedly her son, Tom Parker Bowles, the celebrated food writer whose recognizable name had quietly opened doors for nearly 2 decades. But in 2023, something allegedly exposed how far the family had been reaching. A private investment group with reported links to Camilla's mother's side, the Shan family, submitted a development inquiry to the estate, requesting a long-term lease on a commercial property in Kennington for a luxury members club. On the surface, it looked ordinary. Underneath, sources say the group had constructed a maze of shell companies designed to hide the family connection from anyone reviewing it. Williams' managers reportedly saw straight through it, rejected it, and placed the entire paper trail on his desk. Worse still, a review allegedly revealed this was no isolated attempt. There was reportedly a pattern of approaches going back years, all tracing back to the same family network, and none ever approved. So just how deep did these arrangements run, and what else were Williams' auditors about to uncover? The answer reportedly came when his team audited the estate's historical records and opened the files on Oak Ridge, one of its most significant agricultural holdings. There, allegedly buried since the 1980s, sat a lease handing a farming cooperative connected to the Parker Bowles agricultural network preferential grazing rights, the use of land at a fraction of its true market value. It was technically legal when signed, but its discovery reportedly confirmed every suspicion Williams' team had carried for years, that the family's relationship with royal assets had roots reaching back decades. That lease was reportedly cancelled almost immediately, and sources say it was one of the discoveries that turned the frozen relationship between Kensington Palace and Clarence House into something resembling open warfare conducted entirely through silence. But none of this came close to the blow that reportedly fell on Camilla's younger sister Annabel Elliot and the secret her dismissal would unleash. Annabel had reportedly held one of the most comfortable and least examined positions in the entire household. Charles had personally appointed her as his interior design consultant, a role that allegedly gave her direct access to royal residences and direct access to royal money, with substantial sums paid from the household budget for work at properties like Highgrove and Birkhall. Royal finance analysts had reportedly raised quiet questions for years about whether those contracts were ever properly put out to open tender, or whether they simply represented royal money flowing straight to the Queen Consort's own sister. When William began his review, Annabel's contracts were reportedly flagged immediately, and his response was swift and brutal. He cancelled them. No review period, no graceful exit. But what made it land like an earthquake was the history. Annabel's home was reportedly the very place where Charles and Camilla conducted their secret meetings during the long years of the affair, the years Diana was being destroyed from the inside. William has reportedly carried that knowledge his entire adult life, so when he signed that order, sources say he was not simply cutting off a decorator. He was closing a chapter of history permanently, and what followed was a phone call that reportedly brought the Queen Consort completely undone. The pressure that descended on Camilla was reportedly unlike anything in her 30 years inside the household. Tom called first, allegedly desperate, telling her this could not stand and that she had to confront Charles immediately. Laura Lopes called too, quieter but carrying the same suffocating urgency. Camilla reportedly held herself together through both, and then Annabel called and everything fell apart. Behind a closed door at Clarence House for 1 full hour, staff reportedly could not make out the words until Camilla's voice broke through with a force that froze everyone in the corridor. It was not a raised voice, it was a scream, and the woman who emerged was reportedly pale, glassy-eyed, and stripped of the composure that had been her armor for decades. What had been said in that room? Sources who understand the history have allegedly pieced together a devastatingly simple message that Annabel told her sister to help restore her position, or she would expose her. Expose what, exactly? Nobody in that corridor could say, but Camilla's reaction reportedly made one thing horrifyingly clear. Whatever Annabel was holding could shatter what remained of Camilla's world, so Camilla did what she had always done when the walls closed in. She went to Charles, reportedly shaking and desperate, and begged him to speak to William and stop it all. Charles allegedly sat with everything she said and then quietly told her no. The act was irreversible, he reportedly said, carrying his mother's sovereign authority, and nothing any living person could do would undo it. My hands are tied, he allegedly told her. And here Camilla reportedly saw straight through him. You signed that document without a word to me, she allegedly said, her voice dropping low and sharp. You sent an aide with a note. Don't tell me your hands were tied. You folded them. Charles reportedly had no answer, and the bitterness ran deeper still, because back during the 2023 coronation planning, when a dispute erupted over ceremonial roles for Camilla's children, Charles had reportedly sided with her then. That victory had allegedly hardened William's resolve to ensure the next great decision went entirely his way. Now it had. With William reportedly refusing every request for a meeting, Camilla is allegedly trapped between a furious family threatening her on one side and a wall of constitutional law on the other. And the most dangerous people in this story may not be the ones holding power. They may be the ones sitting just outside it, cornered, betrayed, and holding secrets that were never meant to survive this long. So is Camilla truly finished, or is the explosive secret her own family is holding about to detonate everything? Tell me what you think in the comments, and if you want the next chapter of this unfolding war for the crown, stay close. This is Royal Pulse, where whispers around the crown come to light.